Our story starts in a place where the sky feels huge, pines dance in the breeze, and nature's waking up. This morning, like many others, seemed ordinary. Just river fog, birds singing, and that pine smell. It was June 1908. Summer in Siberia was kicking off. Villagers wandered about, getting ready for tea. Some went into the woods for work. Others were still waking up. Everything felt quiet, but something was coming, way up in the sky, heading for Earth. Nobody knew their normal lives were about to change in minutes. A light showed up, faint at first, like distant lightning, but it grew fast, like the sun blowing up in the east. White and blue beams shot everywhere, slicing the sky. Then, quiet. But don't be fooled. Seconds later, a rumble came, like thunder at first, then a bomb. The ground vibrated. Sound wave ripped the taiga, smashing everything. Trees, birds, people, hit by a crazy force. People thousands of kilometers away heard it. Windows rattled in London. Asians saw a weird glow. But in Siberia's heart, silence came back. Except everything was different. It was a disaster no one named. No alarms, no news, just a forest with 80 million trees, flattened by something unseen. What was it? Where did it hit? Where's the hole? No answers. It was like nature just took a deep breath that no one saw coming. Normally, you can hear all sorts of things in places like this. Branches snapping, mosquitoes buzzing, or an animal crunching through the snow. But on that day, after the sky lit up like a bomb and the air exploded with noise, all that was gone. Just quiet. Super quiet. Too quiet. Folks from the camps nearby, evenks, hunters, shepherds, didn't know what to think. Some thought a volcano had blown. Others felt like it was a punishment from up above. The elders said they'd never seen anything like it, and neither had their ancestors. But here's the thing. There wasn't any fire, no war, no army either. There wasn't even a hole in the ground where something hid. Instead, it looked like some big invisible fist smacked the forest from above. Everything alive was gone, but millions of trees were knocked flat in the same direction, like someone carefully dropped matches. Right in the middle, it got really weird. The trees were still standing up, but their branches and bark were burned. The trunks weren't broken, though, like the fire just skimmed the surface. The locals stayed away. They said it was a place with bad vibes and left it at that. It was creepy and made no sense. And that was it for a while. Nobody knew what to do or even where to start looking. Back then, there were no satellites or planes. Years went by. Then, decades. Finally, in 1927, someone said, "Screw it," and decided to figure it out. No answers. It was like nature just took a deep breath that no one saw coming. The Tunguska taiga kept its secret hidden. People moved on with other stuff on their minds. But in Leningrad, there was this scientist, not well known at the time, who just couldn't let it go. His name was Leonid Kulik. He was tough, a bit rough around the edges, but super dedicated. Kulik had always been into meteorites. He thought if something actually fell from space in 1908, it was a real opportunity, a chance to check out space, figure out the cosmos, and maybe even learn how to defend our planet. It took Kulik ages to get money and permission. The trip was tough. They had to deal with swamps, rivers, bugs, and freezing cold. Along with guides, horses, and gear, he headed out to a place where nature was basically untouched. Finally, they made it to the area the stories talked about. At first, it was quiet, just a normal forest. But the deeper they went, the weirder it got. The ground started to flatten out, and the forest looked like it had been mowed down by some huge blade.
It wasn't messy.
Everything was tidy, going from the center outwards, and right in the middle was a zone where the trees stood straight but bare, like candles that had been burned. Kulik thought he would find a hole, or at least pieces of a meteorite, rocks, metal, stuff like that, but there was nothing. No pieces, no hole, just a silent, spooked forest. He wrote everything down, took pictures, and grabbed samples. But the more he saw, the less sense it made. It wasn't like a crash. It was like something blew up in the air. Standing in a forest, flattened as if by some divine breath, believing in magic feels natural. But Kulik, being a scientist, wasn't after a miracle. He wanted proof, tangible stuff, a reason. If there's no hole, whatever happened didn't actually hit. It blew up high. That's where the first idea came from. A meteorite exploding mid-air. A chunk of rock or metal zoomed into the atmosphere at a sharp angle. Because of the crazy speed and air pushing back so hard, it got super hot, broke apart, and boom! Went off a few miles up. Never touched down. No crater. But with crazy force. This made sense of lots of stuff. Which way the trees fell, no pieces lying around, treetops all burnt. It all fit, almost. But here's another thought. What if it was a comet? Comets are mostly ice, dirt, and frozen gases. Something like that could burn up, break down, and vanish when it hits the air, leaving next to nothing behind. No metal, no rocks, just water, steam, and a big shock wave. Some experts thought this made the most sense. Still, neither idea really settled things. Why couldn't they find even tiny bits of stuff? Why weren't there any special chemical signs from a comet? And why did people see a super bright light way far away from where it blew up? There were signs, all right, just not what they figured. It's like the world left behind a puzzle, an objective. When you can't find answers in the usual places, you start looking elsewhere. The more people looked into the Tunguska event, the weirder it seemed. How could an explosion that strong leave almost nothing behind? Why were the soil samples almost normal, even years later? That's when some wild ideas started popping up. Antimatter. Back in the 60s, some physicists had this crazy thought. What if a bit of antimatter hit our atmosphere? When antimatter touches normal stuff, it doesn't just burn, it wipes itself out completely and boom! Huge energy release. No bits left. Nothing, just gone. Thing is, antimatter wouldn't last long in space. It would have bumped into something and vanished ages ago. So, this idea got dropped because it was too out there, even for sci-fi. Tiny black hole. Here's another weird one. What if a tiny black hole zipped through the Earth? It would have caused a blast when it entered and kept going, exiting somewhere else. Except nobody found a second explosion. Not in the Indian Ocean or South America. So when all else fails, you start thinking about it. There were signs, all right, just not what they figured. It's like the world left behind a puzzle, an objective. When nature throws us a curveball, people look for answers in both science and their own imaginations. Over the years, some wild theories popped up about the Tunguska Explosion. Some sounded like science, others like something out of a sci-fi book. One idea was that someone was testing out some crazy powerful and untamed tech, maybe gone wrong, and maybe in secret. This came about later, when tech started becoming a big deal. Other ideas pointed to natural events we don't know about yet, like a huge energy burst from deep inside the Earth, or a sudden buildup of energy in the air that caused a huge explosion. But these are just guesses. Then there were the totally out there guesses. Maybe Some old forgotten civilization did it with tech we don't even remember. Or it was a message we just can't read yet. These aren't facts, just ways people react to the unknown. When you can't figure something out, your mind fills in the blanks with scary, powerful, or amazing images. Still, these stories show how much the event messed with people's imaginations. Something that happened way out in the woods became a mystery we still haven't cracked. Some things stick with us even when we forget the specifics. The Tunguska Explosion isn't just some science puzzle, it's a symbol. It reminds us that there are things out there we don't quite get. Stuff that can come out of nowhere. Writers like Arthur Clarke and the Strugatsky brothers wrote about it. It popped up in movies, comics, and even video games. Tunguska turned into a 20th century legend, part of our shared imagination. In Russia, there's even a Tunguska Reserve, a protected spot where scientists still watch nature, search for clues, and study what's left behind. But the big lesson is what we learned that June morning. After the Chelyabinsk meteor in 2013, which also caught us off guard, people wondered, what if the next one's bigger? Now, agencies keep an eye on NEOs, near-Earth objects, space rocks that could be a problem. People are drawing up plans to nudge asteroids away, and we're sending missions into space. All because of a light that flashed over the taiga way back when. Every now and then, the universe gives us a little nudge to remind us it's there. Over a century has gone by. Forests have grown back, covering the land. Birds are back. The taiga is breathing, just like always. But still, hidden under moss, under pine roots, and buried in silence, there's a trace, a memory of a bang that no one witnessed, but that shook the earth. We still aren't totally sure what it was. Rock from space? A chunk of an icy comet? Some weird alien thing, or just a strange set of natural events? And maybe that's what the Tunguska mystery is all about. I mean, you don't always need a definite answer. Sometimes the searching is what really matters. Looking at the sky. A thought that sticks with you. A story that makes you stop, listen, and drift off to sleep with a little shiver of interest. As you sleep, somewhere far away in the Siberian wilderness, the taiga whispers. It remembers what it saw way back when. And we keep wondering,